With the NBA offseason officially underway and the NBA draft a little under a week away, thought we would take a look at the mock draft that I made for the 2022 NBA draft. This is what I think I would do if I were the GMs, not necessarily what I think the GMs will be doing. Welcome to my NBA 2022 mock draft. I love the draft. I love the offseason, and I'm really excited to share this with you. Magic got the first overall pick, first time since they drafted Dwight Howard. And I have the Orlando Magic taking Paolo Banchero. I think Paolo Banchero is the best scorer in the top three. I think he is the best prospect, as in the most NBA-ready prospect. He can come in and make a difference in day one. He's able to put the ball on the floor. He's able to shoot. He's able to score. He's a good facilitator. The defense is kind of lackluster. He's not as good of a defender as he probably can be with the physical and basketball gifts that he has. But overall, I think Orlando needs a go-to guy, and I think Paolo Banchero is the most go-to guy on the offensive side of the ball. And then defensively, you have Mo Bamba that can pick him up defensively. You have Wendell Carter. I think Chuma Okeke's a good defender. Jonathan Isaac if he comes back. So they have a good defensive base. But I think what they lack is the go-to scorer. They've looked to Cole Anthony for that. I don't think Cole Anthony is the go-to scorer. But I think Paolo Banchero, number one overall, I said here, very talented defensive player. He's good frame and size, a versatile player as a scorer and a facilitator. And I compared him to Julius Randle. I compared him to Julius Randle as in like the body type, also the way that he scores the ball, and not really the defensive side of the ball, maybe the defensive side of the ball right now, but I project Paolo will be a very good defender in the NBA. You just have to give him a couple years with NBA training, NBA reps. But I think Paolo Banchero is your number one overall draft pick in 2022. Followed up, Oklahoma City Thunder will be taking Chet Holmgren. Now, Chet honestly is the most intriguing and probably my favorite player in this draft. 7-footer, can shoot the ball, average 3.7 blocks a game. Insane, has the length and the basketball IQ to succeed. I think a lot of the bust word is thrown around a lot, but I think busts are players that have low basketball IQ that can't play smart enough in the NBA. And I think Chet Holmgren is a very polarizing player in the fact that a lot of people think, oh, this kid's going to be a bust, and some kids are going to be like, wow, this is going to be the next best player in the league. I don't think he's probably going to be either one of those, but I don't think he has the potential to be a bust because of how smart he is and how good of a defender he is able to be. I think players like Anthony Bennett, Hasheem Thabeet, Darko Milicic, those three players. Those are the three players that come to name when you think of NBA bust. I don't think they had the basketball IQ that helped support them in the NBA. I don't think they were NBA ready in the head, and I think Chet Holmgren is perfectly capable of being a multiple-time All-NBA player, All-Star, because of how smart he is and the physical tools that he has. He's able to put the ball on the floor. He's able to block shots. He's he's very skinny. He's like me. Tall, skinny. He's going to get bullied in the post for a little bit, but I think he will fill out as he gets older. I mean, he's only 20. He's a freshman. He's an older freshman. I think he's going to be a great player. A great touch around the rim. He can hold his own in the post. I wouldn't leave him on the perimeter. I think he might just get torched on the perimeter. Offensively, I compared him to Kristaps Porzingis because of the way that he shoots the ball. He's able to put the ball on the floor. I don't love the comparison. I think he has a better touch around the rim than KP. KP was taller and more built. KP was stronger than Chet. KP doesn't look like he did rookie year. He's much bigger now, but rookie year he was still kind of slim, shot the ball, could take the mid-range, played with Carmelo. And defensively, I have Rudy Gobert because you don't want to leave him on an island. but I think he has the basketball IQ and the length to average a lot of blocks and be a very good defensive anchor that I think Oklahoma City needs behind Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Giddey's going to be able to get him the ball if he wants to pick and pop, if he wants to pick and roll. I think there's so much potential here in Chet Holmgren, and it's just a matter of how Oklahoma City decides to use him, as well as if he's able to get some mass on him. Like I said, I don't love the Kristaps comparison offensively. I think the defensive Rudy Gobert comparison is quite good. And that leaves number 3 with Jabari Smith going to the Houston Rockets. I think this is a perfect player for the Houston Rockets because he plays defense. He's going to be a knockdown shooter next to Jalen Green. Now, I think they really need a point guard. I don't think Kevin Porter Jr. is the starting point guard of a playoff team. I like KPJ. I think he can be really good as a combo guard, shooting guard, hybrid, off the bench. I don't think you're going to want to look to him to facilitate an offense, but I think Jabari Smith is the best player available. This is a 3-man draft right now where it's Paolo, Chet, and Jabari, and I think Jabari falls number 3. He has to be set up. He has to look to get his own next to Jalen Green because Jalen Green's going to average probably near 20 points next year. He's going to be taking a lot of shots. But Jabari Smith is able to be a 6'10", like Klay Thompson-like player where he's able to hit the 3, he's able to play good defense. If he hits his ceiling, realistically, I see him as a good 3-and-D player. I don't think he's going to make all-star games and all NBAs, but he's going to be a very, very good player for 15, 20 years. He's not star potential, but he's very, very good. I have him compared to Michael Porter Jr. because of the way that he handles the ball at 6'10". He's really good defensively, unlike Michael Porter Jr. And I think that he's going to go in there and hopefully he's going to start a movement in Houston where they're able to play defense. And hopefully they kind of turn that around because they were the worst defense in the league last year with 116.4 offensive rating or defensive rating, which is really bad, by the way. Like some of the worst of all time bad. But hopefully he can make a shift in that, shift the culture to a more defensive role. And then number 4, the draft kind of starts over. It's kind of like a new draft. You know who's 1 through 3. You know what's going on. But at number 4, there's like 4 to 5 players that I could see going number 4. And the player I have going number 4 is quite surprising. So the Sacramento Kings are going to be taking AJ Griffin. Now, Jaden Ivey and De'Aaron Fox, I don't necessarily love the fit there. They just traded away Tyrese Halliburton so that they could get De'Aaron Fox more touches on the ball. Jaden Ivey's going to look to be in the paint a lot. De'Aaron Fox looks to be in the paint a lot. Domantas Sabonis is in the paint a lot. So I don't think Jaden Ivey really is a great fit in Sacramento. I also don't think that Sacramento is going to be drafting here. I think they're going to trade the pick away, which I think is a mistake. But it's Sacramento. I like AJ Griffin because I saw a image, and I'll put it up on the screen. This is his shot chart in college. There's a lot of red in this shot chart. He shot 45% from 3, 80% from the field, or 80% from the free throw line, and 50% from the field. That is like unheard of efficiency. And if you're able to get a 3-and-D player who is able to hit 45% of threes in college, he's probably going to shoot mid-30s in his rookie year in the NBA. That is something that the Sacramento Kings could really, really build on. I'm higher on AJ Griffin than a lot of other people, and I know that. But I think he's going to be a very good player in the league for a long time. And the only thing with me is the injury concern. Missed 2 years in high school. He's not a great defender right now. But I think he has the potential to be a great defender, and I think he will fill out to be a good defender, which I think the Sacramento Kings really need. Here's the Gary Trent Jr. comparison. I have another Gary Trent Jr. comparison later. I don't like the Gary Trent Jr. comparison as much for this one because I think he can be... When Gary Trent Jr. is at his best, I think is what AJ Griffin will be. Can be, I'll say. At number 5, I have the Detroit Pistons taking one of my favorite prospects in this draft, Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe is a guard, forward, wing, kind of in the hybrid middle there. And I think the Detroit Pistons are a perfect spot for him because he's not going to be asked to play make, which he struggles at in high school. He's not going to be asked to defend at a high rate, even though he will be able to in a couple years. But at rookie year, he's not going to be a guy that you live and die with on the perimeter because they're going to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, just like the Rockets and the Thunder are going to be next year. They're going to win or lose games next year. Shaedon Sharpe, big downside, didn't play in college, sat out at Kentucky. So a lot of film that I watched and everyone else has been able to watch is him in the EYBL and the Peach Jam where he's just beating up on high schoolers. But the blueprint is there. He bolsters a 49-inch vertical. It's not actually 49 inches, but he can jump out of the gym. He is a lob catcher at 6'5", and he's going to be a highlight reel. He's able to shoot the ball. Some concerns about him getting separation, but I think overall, he's a very, very good basketball player. He's really raw because he didn't play at college. Really, really pretty looking jump shot. He can be used as a secondary ball handler. He's going to get open shots because of how much gravity Cade Cunningham demands only in his rookie year. Now, Jaden Ivey has still not been drafted yet. Now, I don't dislike the Jaden Ivey draft pick here, but I like Shaedon Sharpe a little bit more for the Detroit Pistons, but I'm also a guy that is really enamored with the idea of Shaedon Sharpe and how he just played in high school and he skipped out on college and no one knows what he is. He's a complete enigma, but I think he has the potential to be a really good basketball player, and I think the situation matters a lot for Shaedon Sharpe, and I think Detroit is one of the best lottery situations in the NBA at the moment because they play defense and because they have a star in Cade Cunningham. At number 6, I have the Indiana Pacers taking Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey falls all the way down to 6. I think it's kind of a weird spot for him. Tyrese Halliburton, not a great shooter. He's a good shooter, not great. Miles Turner can shoot. TJ Warren is hopefully coming back this year. You got Buddy Hield. So he has the spacing. Ivy is also able to play a little bit off the ball. And when you're able to play off the ball, Tyrese Halliburton is going to find you. He's going to be able to back cut. He's going to be able to catch lobs. Him and Tyrese Halliburton are going to be a lot of fun in transition. But I think a thing you have to think about is that Indiana doesn't get a lot of stars in free agency and stuff like that. They don't get a lot of publicity. And when you're able to get Jaden Ivey, who's going to be on SportsCenter, he's going to be on Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, because of the way that he plays and how big of a name he is, you have to take Jaden Ivey. He's going to get people in the building in Indiana. And he's probably the best player available. He's probably a better basketball player than the other two, but I like the fits of the other two more than I like Jaden Ivey on either of those teams. Now, Jaden Ivey, it can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with him, I don't think. But he's so athletic. I compared him to Donovan Mitchell. He's got to work on the three-point shot if he wants to be Donovan Mitchell. But Donovan Mitchell came in, and he wasn't like a knockdown three-point shooter. He's worked on that. At number 7, I have the Portland Trailblazers taking Keegan Murray, forward out of Iowa. Keegan Murray, I think, will help the Trailblazers win now. They really need a forward. Him and Nurkic can kind of live in the backcourt, live on the court together. He's able to hit the three. I think that 40% is a little high for what I think he's able to do. But 3-and-D qualities out of a power forward who averaged 24 points a game in college. He's smart. He's going to make good reads. Older prospect, but that doesn't really matter when you're the Trailblazers. I don't think they're going to pick here again. I think they're going to trade out of this pick, but I think, once again, I think that's a mistake. I think I think they dropped. I think they dropped to 7. But this is such a good draft class in the lottery that I think you draft here and you live with the Anthony Simons and Keegan Murray, Nasir Little, when they all develop. That's going to be a good young core. I don't think you should risk that. I have him as Otto Porter Jr. because of the height and the shot and the 3 and D. I don't love the comparison, but I have the plus. So I think he's going to be better than Otto Porter. But I like Otto Porter. I think Otto Porter Jr. is a really good basketball player. Dyson Daniels going number 8 to the New Orleans Pelicans. So my main reasoning with this is that I really like Dyson Daniels. I have him compared to a slower Lonzo Ball. Dyson Daniels, 6'6" point guard, can facilitate. The jumper's a little suspect. Lonzo Ball comparison. Great defender. Lonzo Ball comparison. But I don't think Jose Alvarado is the starting point guard that you want on a good playoff team. Now, obviously, they're probably going to be a playoff team next year if they have Jose Alvarado as their starting point guard. But I think they're able to upgrade that by such a wide margin by taking Dyson Daniels here that I think it's a pretty good, easy pick. This is one of my favorite player to team fits in the lottery. I think they need a point guard. I don't think Jose Alvarado is point guard that is going to take you deep. Him and CJ are going to fit well together. He's going to help CJ defend because CJ is a good defender for his size, but he's a little small. He's like 6'3". Daniels is 6'6", 6'7". I haven't compared to Lonzo Ball. Questionable jumper, good playmaker, defender, and he's kind of a below-the-rim finisher, kind of struggles at that. But I think Dyson Daniels would be able to grow as a finisher in the league. So not a real concern there, but for right now there is. Benedict Mathurin at number 9. I like Benedict Mathurin. There's some things I saw out of him. Shooting, coming off plays, coming off pin downs, off-ball screens. So I think he's going to be really utilized as a really good shooter in the Spurs system, more so than ball handler, because you have DeJounte, because you have Josh Primo as a backup who can kind of dribble, or who can kind of put the ball on the ground. I like it more shooting next to DeJounte Murray. I don't have them taking Jalen Duren like they are been alluded to, because I think Jakob Poeltl should stay. I understand why they're trying to trade him, but I also think I would just keep Poeltl in this situation. But I don't love the pick. I also don't hate the pick, but more shooting and defensive upside like Benedict Mathurin brings. You can never go wrong with that. So that's why I have Benedict Mathurin going number 9 to the Spurs compared to Jason Richardson because of the scoring and the defense. The defense that they both bring. Then at number 10, Washington Wizards, Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis is kind of a point guard, combo shooting guard, more towards the shooting guard, combo guard. But Ish Smith right now is the other ball handler next to Bradley Beal. And when you're able to get Johnny Davis instead of Ish Smith, pretty easy. Suspect three-point shot, not exactly super pretty, but great in the mid-range. An elite scorer in college, player of the year, great defender. He's a good playmaker. He's able to utilize the Jalen Brunson post game where he's backing down smaller guards. Elite mid-range, talented on-ball defender, and he has a Taco Bell commercial. And who doesn't love a Taco Bell commercial coming into your rookie year? But a couple of the negatives: suspect jumper. Handle can get a bit loose at times, and is not a Batman. He's more of a Robin. I hate that analogy, but it makes sense. And he loves to win. Washington is a team that hasn't won in a while, and he's gonna bring some intensity in that locker room. He's gonna yell. He's gonna be exciting. He's gonna hate to lose, and I can appreciate that as a player on a bad team, and I think he fits well with Brad Beal and KP. Because of the way they're able to shoot on the three-point shot and how he struggles, I think they're able to fit well together. Sochan. Jeremy Sochan is the Draymond Green player in this draft where he's going to do a little bit of everything. He's not going to be super flashy. He's not going to shoot the three well. But like I said in the overview, when the New York Knicks were at their best, they were an amazing defensive team. You had Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett playing defense. And last year they took on Kemba Walker. Derrick Rose was injured. But Kemba Walker was kind of just letting people go by him defensively, as much as I love Kemba Walker. And I think the Knicks need to get back to that really strong defense. And that's where Jeremy Sochan is going to come in, play great at one-on-one. He's going to be a great post help defender. He's going to kind of get eaten alive in the post for a little bit. He needs to kind of bulk up. But for a good isolation switch defense like the Knicks can play, he's going to be really good. Now, this does kind of take away from the Obi Toppin minutes, and I know a lot of Knicks fans want to unleash Obi Toppin, but I don't think Obi Toppin is going to be as good of a player as Jeremy Sochan. I think Julius Randle's going to be out this season. I think Mitchell Robinson will stay, which is why I don't have them taking a Jalen Duren, because I think Mitchell Robinson will stay this offseason, and I think the Knicks want to have him. I have him compared to Draymond Green, Aaron Gordon, two of the easiest comparisons in this draft, honestly. At number 12, I have Ousmane Dieng out of... Is it Ousmane Dieng? I think it's Ousmane Dieng out of the New Zealand Breakers going to OKC via the Clippers. Really not a whole lot to talk about here. Ousmane Dieng will not be a good NBA player for about 4 years. He's real lanky. He's got the skills. He's got the visuals. But he shot the ball real rough. Shot 40% from the field, 27% from the three. The shot wasn't falling in New Zealand. He's really raw, but he has a lot of upside because of the length, because of the way he's able to dribble the ball, the way he's able to facilitate. The defense, really good help side defense, but it's not going to be a pretty pick. He's going to be bad for a couple of years, which I think is why the Thunder are cool to take him, because you have Poku, who's still kind of working out his kinks, and you're not competing anytime soon. They're going to be in the Victor Wembanyama lottery next year, so he's going to be able to get some playing time. And I also think they're going to look to move up in the draft. The Charlotte Hornets get the center that they need, Jalen Duren. Perfect fit. They should be looking to trade up for Duren if they can't get him with the pick 13 and the pick 15. I think it's just the easiest pick. Like I said, this is the simplest pick in the draft. They need a starting center. Jalen Duren, 6'10", 18 years old, block shots, smart player. It's going to be fun in transition. Him and LaMelo are going to run transition. Easy pick. Don't mess it up. Compared to Robert Williams, love the Robert Williams pick, especially with the way he played in the finals. Number 14, Cleveland Cavaliers, Ochai Agbaji. Ochai Agbaji, great three-point shooter. Comes off screens, comes off rundowns, can play 1-3 defense. Cavs needed more bodies last year because they struggled when they got injured. They need more shooting. Ochai Agbaji is a body. He gets steals on defense. He gets high basketball IQ. He is a good shooter. And Darius Garland is going to find his good shooters. Already 22 years old. Don't think that really matters because of how good the Cavs were last year until all of the injuries happened. Got him compared to Desmond Bane because of the 3-and-D aspect of it. Kind of the height, not the same size. Desmond Bane is bulky. Ochai Agbaji is a little bit slimmer. Number 15, the Charlotte Hornets taking Malaki Branham out of Ohio State. Good 3-and-D player. Think when a team could take a 3-and-D player, I think you should. Not a self-creator. You got LaMelo Ball, not an issue. Dorian Finney-Smith is the comparison. Just love Dorian Finney-Smith, so I wanted to throw him a comparison. I think Malaki Branham is a pretty good comparison because of the 3-and-D aspect. It's not a flashy name, not a flashy play style, but he's going to be good immediately, and he's going to help you win some games out there in Charlotte. The Atlanta Hawks, I have them taking TyTy Washington out of Kentucky. Trae Young just needs someone that can take some of the ball out of his hands sometimes. He can't do everything, as we saw with the Heat. He just gets swarmed, and when you're throwing it out to a Kevin Huerter to facilitate or a Cam Reddish to facilitate before he got traded, or all the other players, they can't handle the ball like TyTy Washington and like the Atlanta Hawks need them to. So I think TyTy is a really good shooter. He's got a good float game, and he's going to be able to take the ball out of Trae Young's hands at moments. I think they should move off Clint Capella. I don't think they should take another center. I think Onyeka Okongwu is really good. They just got to give him some time. I really like Onyeka Okongwu, but I have them taking TyTy Washington here at 16. Compared him to Emmanuel Quickley. Kind of like the comparison because of the mid-range game and how he runs the floor. At number 17, I have the Houston Rockets taking Mark Williams out of Duke. This is the best player available. He's 20 years old already. He's going to be able to fit with Alfred Sengun. I think Jabari Smith is able to run a little bit with him and Alfred Sengun. I think they can throw out a big lineup. They're going to be losing games. They just need to get good players and players with upside. And I think Mark Williams is upside. I think he measured into the combine at maybe 7 foot, maybe 7'2". So I got to 7 foot, maybe 7'2". Great rebounder, great shot blocker. 7'7" wingspan is insane. Compared to him to Robert Williams and Kevon Looney versus the Mavs. Not finals Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney versus the Mavs. I just really like that pick. Not because Mark Williams is a fit, just because he's the best player available. And when you see on Mark Williams on the board, you've got to take him outside the lottery. Tari Eason going to the Bulls. High defensive motor player. Kind of struggles with the three. He was in the Rui Hachimura Gonzaga defense where he was kind of facilitating everything, and you can't do that in the NBA. And I think the Chicago Bulls need a defense. They have a good coach in Billy Donovan, and they're going to be able to mold him into the player that they need him to be. The 57% shooting in his freshman year from the free throw line, going up to 80, I think shows you how high of a motor Tari Eason has, and someone that I think will be a lot of fun in transition with Lonzo, but kind of struggles to shoot the three, is going to be a work in progress offensively, but he's going to be really good defensively. Compared to him to a better Derrick Jones Jr. Athleticism, Derrick Jones Jr. is a really good defender. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Kind of a rough shooter, but good defender nonetheless. E.J. Liddell, going to Minnesota, another wing. I think you give D'Angelo Russell another year to keep going. I think next year, or maybe even in free agency, you look to find a point guard. I think you let D'Angelo Russell go one more year. You take a wing that can shoot the three, can play defense, because that's kind of where this young team is struggling, is to shoot threes and play defense. Him, Jared Vanderbilt, and Karl Anthony Towns will be a really good 3, 4, 5, and then you're able to put players on the bench like Josh Okogie and Michael Beasley, Gianna McDaniels. Compared him to a taller PJ Tucker, that's a really good player in the NBA. And PJ Tucker's only 6'5". Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. Personally, don't think the Spurs will be drafting here. I think they're going to trade up for a player up in kind of the high lottery. Maybe they're looking to take this Cavs pick or the Hornets pick, but I don't think they're going to be drafting here at 20. But I have Jalen Williams, who is able to shoot the three, really good ball handler, and has been rising up draft boards like crazy. He was kind of a second-round pick before the combine, but now have him sitting pretty confidently here at 20. Really like him. Plus, can be a plus defender in the league. With the Spurs system, he's going to be a plus defender. He's really, really good. I like Jalen Williams a lot. Number 21, Jaden Hardy falls all the way to the Denver Nuggets. Really struggled in the G League last year shooting the ball. He was kind of looked at to be the guy alongside Dyson Daniels, and I think that is kind of what screwed his draft stock falling all the way to 21. When last year he was a top 5 unanimous pick. Kind of struggles defensively. Gave him the Gary Trent Jr. comparison. I like the Gary Trent Jr. comparison a lot, but I think Gary Trent Jr. is more accurate for Jaden Hardy than it is for AJ Griffin. Doesn't play defense. Really good handle. Kind of struggled to finish against the bigger players in the G League. So maybe a spot-up shooter that Jokic and Jamal Murray are going to be able to get the ball to. Nikola Jovic, another one of my favorite prospects in this draft. 6'10", handles the ball like a guard, passes the ball like a guard. Cool name, not Nikola Jovic. Such a cool name. Has the length, the IQ to be a good defender. He's not there yet. He's going to have a few years in the league where he's going to be kind of attacked for the Memphis Grizzlies. But I think the Grizzlies are really good at player development. And I think working with a Kyle Anderson, if they keep him, a Dylan Brooks, is going to help him defensively. Have him compared to Danilo Gallinari. He's a shooter. He's able to facilitate. He's able to put the ball on the floor. Love Jovic to the Grizzlies. At number 23, the Philadelphia 76ers taking Blake Wesley, guard out of Notre Dame. There's nothing in the draft that I think the 76ers are going to be looking at and saying, yes, we need that to win. When they have James Harden and they have Joel Embiid, it's more about those two players and how they fit with everyone else, more so than something in the draft. So I think they're taking arguably the best player available at this point and someone with really high upside as a starting point guard in the league, compared to Bones Highland with the shifty dribble, kind of mediocre shooting, but the way he moves, the way he dribbles the ball, I like the Bones Highland comparison. At number 24, the Milwaukee Bucks are taking Kennedy Chandler. The point guard position next to Jrue Holiday last year really struggled, and you could see it in the playoffs when Marcus Smart and the Boston Celtics were picking him up because they're saying, if you guys are going to dribble past us, we're going to let you. Kennedy Chandler, don't love it because he's 6 foot, but able to facilitate. He's super fast. He's going to be able to get around people, but I am concerned how he's going to finish. He's not a particularly good shooter. He gets to the mid-range, gets to the line, and I don't know. I'm concerned about Kennedy Chandler, but I think they need a point guard or a wing. I think the Bucks could take a lot of things here. They could take a backup center. They could take another wing. But I think they really need a point guard. And I think Kennedy Chandler is the best player, the best guard available at 24. The San Antonio Spurs taking Christian Koloko. This is kind of my Jakob Poeltl fallback, where I don't think they'll be drafting here. I think they're going to try and trade up. But if they do, like I said, the Spurs need a center with the pending Poeltl situation. And even if they do keep him, they can always use a backup big. Koloko's a project. He's 22 years old already. But I think in about 4 or 5 years, you're going to be looking at him saying, wow, he fell all the way to 25. He's really good. Good shot blocker. Has the potential to shoot the three, I think. But he didn't in college. But the free throw percentage really makes me think that he might be able to step out for a couple of threes. Compared to Clint Capella. Clint Capella's a good NBA player. Mavericks traded this pick yesterday. I have not updated it. But I also think the Houston Rockets are going to try and trade up, so I don't think they're going to be drafting here. The Christian Wood trade, like it, don't love it. So Mavericks will not be drafting at 26. It will be the Houston Rockets, and they can take a Jake LaRavia. They're probably going to look for a point guard like a Dalen Terry, but I have Dalen Terry going to the Miami Heat at number 27. I think Kyle Lowry's 37 years old. Him and Pat Riley have had quotes about how dedicated Kyle Lowry is with the BMI thing that the Heat do. Really weird. Kyle Lowry is a great mentor for Dalen Terry because of how Dalen Terry plays defense. 6'7", really good length, has the exact same birthday as me. I've compared him to a Josh Green because of the way he sees the floor, the way he plays defense. The shot isn't NBA ready. He has the IQ. I just really like Josh Green, so I want to give him a comparison in here, and I think Dalen Terry really fits it. Also from Arizona. So, MarJon Beauchamp going to the Warriors. NBA ready player, 6'7", out of the G League. He's going to be a really good defender, and he's going to kind of fit in with the Jonathan Kuminga, the Moses Moody's, the Jordan Pooles. He's not going to get a whole lot of playing time next year when they're trying to win a championship because of the offense. He's not a good shooter. He's not a good facilitator. He's really, really smart, and he's going to be able to play in transition. He has good speed, good size. He's a good defender, but doesn't fit the timeline right now. He fits the timeline with a Jonathan Kuminga. He might be right back in the G League next year to keep developing. And he's an older rookie. He's already 21. He'll almost be 22 in the league. So, like the pick, don't love the pick. At number 29, I have the Memphis Grizzlies taking Bryce McGowens. This is another player I can see the Rockets taking at 26. Not a great shooter, really good athlete. Kind of a potential pick because of how good I think his scoring can be. He's going to be a 0 on defense, but I think he could be a really good scorer in the league compared to Spencer Dinwiddie because of the size and the dribble and how he likes to play. At number 30, last pick, Walker Kessler. I do not believe in Walker Kessler. I think Walker Kessler will be a bad NBA player. But I think if you're putting him next to Jokic, he has the potential to be an okay backup big. And I think he's pretty unanimously in the first round. I'd be surprised if he fell to the second round. It's kind of where I would have him. But I think the Nuggets can take him at 30 and feel good because he averaged almost 5 blocks. Now, blocks is a terrible stat. He can't shoot. He shot 20% from 3. He shot below 60 from the line. He's not a good post player, not a good facilitator. He can dribble the ball a little bit. He's slow on his feet on the perimeter. I don't love the pick, but I think getting mentored by a Nikola Jovic is kind of the only way I can see his career succeeding. I don't love the pick, but yeah, I just don't love the pick. Compared to Luka Garza, really good college player, kind of going to struggle to find his way, slow foot. I like Luka Garza. I think Luka Garza was a cool guy at Iowa. I don't think Walker Kessler is going to be the player that you saw in college. I just don't. That wraps it up. If you guys want to look at this, I will have it in the description of the video along with the podcasts and the links and all that. So if you want to take a look at this, be my guest. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.